Hey there, I'm Douglas from Draftbit, and in this video, we're going to be diving into the checkbox and checkbox row component. The checkbox is a simple, customizable toggle that users can switch between a selected and unselected state. It's perfect for creating interactive elements like task lists, setting toggles, or any feature that requires a binary input. The checkbox row, on the other hand, expands the checkbox by adding a label to create a more descriptive layout. This is especially useful if you want to provide additional context like settings options or a list preference. In this video, we'll start by adding these components to the screen and then understanding their core functionality. Go ahead on the component picker, click add, then search for checkbox. We're going to add the checkbox component first. And now that we've added the checkbox, let's head over to the data tab. And you notice the first thing that we see is the data source. And the data source already has a variable that was created called checkbox value. This variable is automatically created when we add the checkbox component. If we head over to variables, we're going to notice that this was automatically created and it's of type Boolean. So it means it can only be a true or a false value. Let's head over to the device preview, click web preview. Then now we can check the checkbox or uncheck it. So when we check, the checkbox value becomes true. Then when we uncheck, it becomes false. Then up next, we have disabled. The disabled property lets you disable the checkbox. So if we come in here, then we say true. We've essentially disabled the checkbox. Now, when we click, nothing happens. We have the checked icon. This allows you to choose an icon that displays when the checkbox is in a selected state. So right now, when we click, we see it's a check mark, but we can change this if we want to. For example, I want a left side arrow when we check. So now when we check, notice we get a left side arrow. Let's remove that. Then same for the unchecked icon. So right now, when it's unchecked, we just have a square. So we can change that to say, what do you want to show when it's unchecked? Then now let's take a look at interactions tab. So if we go to interactions, we have three interactions. The first being on press, on check, and on uncheck. So on press, this trigger fires every time the checkbox is clicked. So anytime we click or unclick, this runs. Then on check, this only runs when we check the checkbox. Then on uncheck runs when we uncheck. Let's focus on the on press trigger for a moment. So if we open this, we'll notice already when this is triggered, we're setting a variable, the checkbox value, and we're setting it with the new value. So we can take a look at what that looks like by just console logging to the screen, the new value. Then if we go back, we open the console log, and now we get a true. Then if we uncheck, we get a false. So if we go back to the on press, we'll notice that what are we doing with this true or what are we doing with this false? We're setting it to the checkbox value. And this is how the app knows whether the checkbox is checked or unchecked. And it's the same value you will need in your app logic, for sending it in forms or sending it to the backend. Then next, let's talk about how we can style the checkbox component to fit the design of your application. So if we go ahead to styles, we'll notice that we have three styles. We have color, size, and unselected color. So color, this sets the background color of the checkbox when it's in the selected state. What color do you want it to be when it's in a selected state? So now when we select, the background color is red. Then up next, we have size. This is a bit self-explanatory. This is just the size of the checkbox. So if I say 40, we're going to have a bigger checkbox. Then we have unselected color. What color do you want the unselected state to be? If I say black, now we have a black square. Then when we select, we now have a red background. And then in the configurations, we just have the component name. This is the name that you want to appear in the component tree. Now that we've looked at the checkbox, let's take a look at the checkbox row. The checkbox row is very similar to the checkbox, but with one key difference. It adds a label next to the checkbox, which can be helpful when you want to give more context to the user about what the checkbox represents. So for example, if we go to the checkbox row, then we go to data. Again, we have data source. We have disabled, checked icon, unchecked icon. But then notice we now have this label. This property lets you set the text displayed next to the checkbox. You can either enter a static text or link it to a dynamic value. This is useful when you need the label to describe what the checkbox is for, such as I accept these terms and conditions. So if I come here, then I'll say I accept. And then I have to come next to this, then I have to tick it. Then again, we have interactions on press, on check, and on uncheck. These are just the same as the checkbox. So these two, they are just the same, but the difference now is we now have a label. And then we have one other minor difference on the styles. We have direction. This controls the layout of the checkbox and this label. You can choose whether the label appears to the left or the right of the checkbox. So by saying row, it's going to appear to the right. Then if I say row reverse, it's going to appear on the left. As you can see, it now appears on the left side. And that's it for this tutorial on the checkbox and checkbox row component. You've learned how to add and customize both components, adjust their styles, and handle user interactions. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one.